everyone, I have a new book today called Fancy Nancy. Let's see what she's all about. This was my room before I became fancy. Look at her room. So that is the before picture. Let's see what it is after she made it fancy. Oh my, I love being fancy. Look at it now. That is one fancy room, isn't it? Whew. My favorite color is fuchsia. That's a fancy way of saying purple. I love to write my name with a pen that has a plume right there. That's a fancy way of saying feather. You can see it right there. And I can't wait to learn French because everything in French sounds fancy. Nobody in my family is fancy at all. They never even ask for sprinkles on their ice cream. Do you ask for sprinkles in your ice cream? There's a lot they don't understand. Lace-trimmed socks do help me play soccer a little bit better. She's got lacy socks here. Sandwiches definitely taste better when you stick a frilly toothpick in it. Can you see the toothpick she has in there? And her socks. It says, a princess is supposed to keep her tiara on. What's a fancy girl to do? Oh, I asked my doll, Maribel. Her full name is Marabella Lavinia Chandelier. Oh my goodness. Well, I think you need to see the picture. Do you have fancy in your family? I don't have it in mine, but it's really fun to read about, isn't it? Then I get an idea that is stupendous. That's a fancy word for great. Maybe I can teach my family how to be fancy. I make an ad and I stick it to the refrigerator. Do you see that? Let's see what the ad says. Learn to be fancy. Lessons from Nancy starts today. Easy, fun, and free. And I think she got that idea from this board over here at the grocery store. So she's going to teach her family how to be fancy. Soon there was a knock on my door. My family saw the ad and they wanted to get started right away. Oh, look at this. So they answered her ad and they showed up at her room. And she started off by saying all the different things that are plain and then what is fancy. So like yellow, instead of yellow, gold is fancy. Instead of leather, patent leather. Instead of glasses, sunglasses. So that's just a few of the things she's going to be teaching her family on how to be fancy. The trouble is my family doesn't own fancy clothes. That's okay. I go find what is that fancy word. Oh yes, some accessories to go with their boring clothes. I think they're going to be in for a treat. What do you think? Ooh la la, my family is bush. That's a fancy word for fancy. My mom twirls in front of the mirror. Why don't we go somewhere fancy tonight, she says. How about dinner at the King's Crown, my dad suggests. Wow, my parents are acting fancier already. Do you see them all dressed up? They're pretty fancy, aren't they? Let's see. May I escort you lovely ladies outside? The limousine is waiting. My dad is our chauffeur. That's a fancy word for driver. So you have the dad that's all dressed up and he's gonna be their driver or their chauffeur. And here's all the ladies going out to the car and he's calling his car a limousine. That's a really long, long car. When we arrive at King's Crown, everyone looks up. They probably think we're movie stars. Oh, here comes the Fancy Nancy family. Look at how fancy they look. Wow. I am so proud of my whole family. They eat with their pinkies up. Can you all put your pinky up in the air when you're eating? And each call each other darlings. Can you try saying darlings and put your pinky up? And they're doing that all as they're eating pizza and having some water or pop or some soda. I don't even know. Maybe some juice. For dessert, let's have parfaits, my mom says. That's French for ice cream sundaes. Amazing. My mother knows French. When our parfaits are ready, I curtsy and say, Marcy. Look at that. Which means thank you. I carry the tray like a fancy waiter. Can you try that at home? Oops! I trip. Oh no! And I slip. Look at that. She slipped from her sandal. And the tray does a double flip. Oh my goodness, look at that. Oh boy, we're gonna have a mess. I don't feel fancy anymore, and I wanna go home. Look at that. After I get all cleaned up, I put my dressing gown on, and all those fancy words are for bathrobe. I feel much better, I say already. I'm ready for a parfait. I tell my parents thank you for being fancy tonight, and they make me a ice cream sundae. Or in her words, parfait. I love you, my dad says. I love you, my mom says. And all I say back is, I love you. Because there isn't a fancy or better way of saying that. I love you. And she goes to sleep. And that's the end of Fancy Nancy. So maybe you want to try and look around your closet and see if you can be fancy for a day. All right, friends. Thanks for listening. Bye now.